Gamers! Mewgenics has been out for almost a week now, and when I first looked at it, I thought that it's probably not for me. But this weekend, I decided to take the plunge, and I was astonished to find that this game is an absolute masterpiece. It blends my favorite type of RPG, the tactical RPG in the vein of games such as Final Fantasy Tactics, with roguelite. This is a hard combination to pull off, in my opinion, because a great tactical RPG already will have many hours of gameplay, and by incorporating roguelite into this genre, most developers do it in a way to artificially increase runtime. This can make it so at the beginning you can feel the difficulty, and then by the midpoint you will be falling asleep on every run because of how easy the game is. An example of this would be the turn-based roguelite Chaos Zero Nightmare. I am happy to say though that Mewgenics does not suffer from these problems, which makes sense because Edmund McMillen is truly a master at developing games in this vein. This review will be divided by the core elements of the game that I felt are worth talking about, which will be the breeding portion that encompasses how the roguelite system works, then the combat, which will encompass how a run will go. Of course, we will talk about nuances such as the music and other systems as we describe the main two chunks of Mewgenics. And as always, with all my reviews, this is going to be unsponsored and all views are my honest opinion. Breeding. Breeding in Mewgenics is how you create your cat units to send onto those savage streets, which is necessary since you cannot use a cat more than once, and is about 20% of the gameplay, give or take in my opinion, or more if you get super into it. You can separate your cats into different rooms of your home, and they will get it on in a major way. This means that your stronger cats, if you implement this right, will create stronger cats and allow you to progress further and more efficiently. Don't worry about messing this up at the beginning though, because for the first 5 hours I would say it's quite difficult to do this efficiently, and the main way you progress the breeding portion at first isn't by breeding, it's by recycling. There are different shops that you unlock one by one after your runs, and by giving cats that are either retired, old, kittens, not moving, etc., they will unlock new features such as a bigger inventory, more rooms in the house, better shops, etc. Furniture is one of the most important things to prioritize early on, in my opinion, because to progress quickly, you need your cats to be in the mood. And without furniture, the offspring situation might not be ideal. One thing I liked about this is how all the upgrades are done by recycling cats, and this creates a sort of separation with your units and makes it so you don't feel bad when you lose a cat on a run or want to keep a cat you liked in your house forever. I think this is important because you will lose cats in this game. There are bosses that can one-shot your cats and make it so they cannot be revived. So before you get into situations like that, which can make people angry, I mean, when I played Final Fantasy Tactics, if I ever lost a single unit, I would press the reset button. Well, the game eases you in with this recycling system, as well as the dark humor that's just scattered everywhere to make something like this that could make people frustrated, well, just a funny moment all around. The detachment from your cats helps players get into the game more and just focus on the core element of the game itself, and is honestly just a smart way to implement these features, which really works seamlessly. I also really enjoy the voice acting of the characters to have that Animal Crossing vibe going with them, as this makes it so they are not meant to be taken seriously, which I hope nobody will, because if you take the guy who eats poop seriously, then we need to have a serious talk. All in all, this is a great roguelite progression system because it allows there to still be randomization, but the player still has authority of how that randomization will go and really detaches you from certain parts of the game and makes you just focus on the game itself, which is an absolute masterpiece. Combat. Mewgenics is a tactical RPG, and as such, before each run, we will be allowed to apply classes to our units. There is a clear meta with the classes, And one thing I would like to point out is that the creator of Mewgenics, Edmund McMillen, clearly got a lot of inspiration for these classes from Dungeons and Dragons. This makes it so if you have an understanding of certain character archetypes from D&D, you will have a strong perspective on how to build your cats as you level through the runs as well as team composition. For example, the Hunter can get an ability similar to Hunter's Mark. A lot of the fighter's abilities are similar to Battle Master, etc., etc. This is done in a great way in Mewgenics though, as there are traits that are out of your control to dictate, meaning you can't just make the same OP Ranger build every time. This is different than D&D because, well, a lot of people just build the same type of character every time with the same abilities. The randomization is done in a smart way because certain traits will allow for certain runs to be easier or harder given which bosses that you encounter on your run. An example of this is that the bigger bosses who are oversized and use a 3x3 portion of the map are heavily susceptible to the Ranger's Lob style AoE basic attack, and if you can apply Hunter's Mark basically before all of those, you are dishing out between 45 and 60 per hit, allowing those multiple hits to really just make it so you can smack those oversized bosses, but making it so that smaller bosses are much more difficult. Another example is that if you have a ton of abilities that apply bleed and can punish units in water terrain, then you'll most likely want to progress to the sewers over the junkyard after you clear the first area. Knowing these things can help push your runs, but there are still comically overpowered attacks by some of the later bosses, especially once you start getting into places such as the caves, because they can instantly destroy your cat if they're downed and can deal like 30 damage a hit. How the game introduces the cats though, you know that you shouldn't get too attached to any of them on these savage streets. Everything in this game is recycled, and we must risk it all for progression. One thing I also have to say is that the music is rather unique. I personally loved how all the bosses had their own little jingle, and some of them even pointed out things you might need to anticipate in terms of special moves that you might not think about immediately on your first encounter. I did have to mute the constant mewing though after a bit because my cats in real life were just not having it and were throwing a fit. The last thing I'm going to say about the whole progression and the runs is that I really enjoyed how there is a hard variation to the area as well as a normal variation, but also you are still perfectly fine going the normal route and not taking the hard route. This makes it so that if the breeding process at the beginning of the game isn't going your way, you can still overcome and do this rather successfully. So don't feel pressured to go the hard route. Now, all in all, I'm 7 hours in and have completed basically what the creator calls Act 1 of 3 acts. I'm going to be pushing content today, and I'll definitely be putting out a few more videos for this game because it's honestly might be the best tactical RPG roguelite I've ever played, which I would not think of when looking at this game from first glance. Mewgenics is a 9.5 out of 10 from me.